I used to be really obsessed with the idea of financial independence and early retirement, also known as FIRE. For a number of years, I had a tunnel vision about achieving FIRE. I worked really hard at my day job. I tried to diversify my income with side hustles. I cut down my shopping heavily, and I took minimalism very seriously. At some point, we achieved what was a very important financial milestone for us, and I decided to take a break from my professional day job. And it was during that year that I finally had some time to reflect on my approach to FIRE. The thing is, FIRE is incredibly beneficial in so many ways, but if you're not careful, you could potentially find yourself overdoing it in a rather unsustainable or unhealthy manner. In this video, I want to talk about why I'm no longer obsessed with the FIRE movement or the idea of perfect minimalism. When I first learned about the FIRE movement, my goal was 100% early retirement. Now, this was quite a number of years ago, but I wasn't in a good place because my job was demanding. I was working a lot, I had no ownership of my time, and I felt like I wasn't getting the support that I needed from my workplace. To be honest, at times, I really thought I hated my job. But looking back, I think I was just incredibly burnt out. I didn't tell anyone at work about this, but my plan was to step away from everything as soon as I hit FIRE. And like I said, I did eventually have a career break for about 12 months. In the first few months, I felt so restless because for a long time, I was always so busy with work, and now all of a sudden, I had all this time on my hands. The change was honestly quite drastic and overwhelming. It actually took me a few months to get used to not having a typical work structure, but when I did, it felt refreshing until the novelty started to wear off. About 10 months in, I realized that I actually love what I do and I don't necessarily want to retire early from my profession. In fact, I really believe that most people don't hate their jobs. They probably just need a break and maybe a different working environment as well. I'm now working part-time in a place that I feel supported, and I'm finding the work so much more fulfilling and enjoyable. The work experience is so different that it made me think about my FIRE journey, because before this, I saw FIRE as a way to escape a life that I didn't enjoy. In fact, I was so hyper-focused on getting to my destination that I forgot to enjoy the journey. For example, I stayed much longer than I should have in a toxic workplace, and I was unwilling to take any time off to go on holiday. Not only that, I was also absolutely exhausted. But instead of reducing my workload, I continued working really hard in order to get to FIRE earlier. So you could say I was willing to put up with anything as long as I was able to achieve FIRE even just that much earlier. This kind of work pattern might have expedited my FIRE journey, but they were also the reasons why I was so desperate to get to FIRE. If you think about it, it's really quite ironic that I was creating a life that I then had to work so hard to get out of. In fact, some days I actually wish I could fast forward my life to the day when I achieved FIRE, which is so crazy in so many ways. Apart from working really hard, I also cut down on my spending very heavily. You see, around the same time I learned about the FIRE movement, I also came across minimalism, and for me, the two went hand in hand perfectly. Now, I will forever be thankful for minimalism because it made me confront my unhealthy shopping habits. Many of you know I used to buy too many luxury handbags, and minimalism was really the reason why I started being so intentional with building my wardrobe. However, once I witnessed the positive changes in myself, I started to take minimalism a little bit too far. And I'm not even just referring to the expensive designer shopping. I was actually very critical with every single purchase. For example, I started coloring my hair myself. Initially, I did it because of COVID, but even when life was back to normal, I continued doing it. Even though I did not enjoy it at all because it was always so messy. At one point, I even felt guilty for buying books, even though I thoroughly enjoyed them and I always learned so much from them. In my mind, everything that I chose not to buy, whether it is a luxury handbag or an affordable book, was a contribution to achieving FIRE. Now, it's one thing to be intentional with your spending, but it's quite another to remove everything that can add values to your life. Now, I still believe in minimalism and I still think it's an amazing tool for FIRE, but you definitely do not have to deprive yourself of everything. Now, of course, I want financial security. In fact, there are many things that I no longer buy and I don't miss them at all. But my point is, you shouldn't feel like you have to stop living until you arrive at a certain date in the future when you have a certain amount of money in investment. Life is happening right now, and while saving money is important, living in the present moment matters too. I now don't agonize over spending money on things that I love using or doing. As long as I stay on top of my priorities, it's okay not to be the perfect minimalist. If that is even a thing. I also want to mention that if you're planning to retire early, it's so important to create a life that you already enjoy before retirement and have activities or things that you very much look forward to doing when you have a lot of time on your hands. In fact, just imagine if you spend every day of your life working incredibly hard and then saving every single penny to the point you have no hobby, no social life, and no other interests apart from FIRE. I promise you, retirement can feel quite lonely and empty because not many of us want to sit around doing nothing day after day. I have first-hand experience with this. When I was pregnant, my morning sickness was really bad, so I had to go on maternity leave earlier than I planned. And during the few months I was home, I had no idea what to do with myself because I had spent so much of my life overworking. So if you're into FIRE, I really recommend carving out some time in your busy life to explore different things outside work. This might mean you're not working as hard or making as much income. But you know what? You might also be creating a life that you don't need to escape from. In my case, after trying out several things, I found digital illustration. It's a passion of mine and something that I look forward to doing every single day. Like I said before, I'm now working part-time, and even though I'm not making as much as I used to, I have the luxury of time to work on my passion and the things that I enjoy, which to me is priceless. Another reason that made me rethink about this whole FIRE movement thing and unhealthy minimalism is how unpredictable life can be. I feel like we sometimes get so consumed by our plans and goals that we take a lot of things for granted, and we forget that life can change at any moment. Earlier this year, I lost a very dear friend. We went to university together and he was one of my closest friends and someone I really trusted. Till this day, I honestly still cannot believe that he's gone, and I kind of resent myself for not making more effort to meet up with him and his family. You know how it goes. I was always busy and I thought there would always be another time, but in this case, there wouldn't be another time. For years, my friend worked incredibly hard, like really hard. His plan was to get to a certain income level before he looked into reducing his workload. My only consolation is that he really enjoyed his job being a dentist, but I also remember him telling me that he wished he could spend more time with his beautiful family. His very tragic and sudden passing was a wake-up call to me that life is so unpredictable. The reality is, as humans, we can plan all we want, but we simply cannot control everything. So it doesn't make sense to be overly rigid with our long-term goals that we forget to live in the moment. In the past, I was always quite reluctant to have a day off or go on a holiday because having a break might slow my FIRE journey down. Whereas now, I always remind myself that life is short and that it's okay to welcome some flexibilities into my life. For example, I now embrace spontaneous experience a lot more readily, whether it is traveling to a new place, going to a concert, or exploring a new town. I now also take much better care of myself. I sleep 8 hours a day, I exercise, and I spend time on the things that I enjoy without feeling guilty. Those things don't slow my journey down. If anything, they make it richer, fuller, and more enjoyable. Of course, I'm not suggesting that you should spend absolutely everything. The truth is, I'm still very intentional with my spendings, and financial security is still very much a top priority of mine. But I no longer pause my life just to get to FIRE earlier. You see, if I can create a life that I love living while making a stable income, fire is really just a cherry on the cake. At the end of the day, the whole point of fire and minimalism is to have the option to do the things that align with my values and things that make me happy. So why not do them now? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Are you working towards fire? And if so, what is your approach? Are you a very aggressive saver? Or do you believe in creating a life that you really enjoy before hitting fire? Let's have a conversation down below. Thank you for being here. Take care and I will see you soon.